Okay. So we were talking about there were parents there this morning. You said there were something like 20, 25 parents this morning.
Correct.
And they stayed for about half an hour or so.
You know, I'm not sure on the total amount of time, but it appears that they were there no more than an hour, let's put it that way. Okay. So, I mean, staff typically arrive at any of our schools somewhere between 7:15 and 7:45. So I think their goal was to be out there when staff were arriving. Not to scare staff or anything else, but just more to, again, make their opinions known. So.
Right. And so what have you guys heard? How many, like, what's the volume of complaints from parents?
Our first communication to parents went out on Tuesday, and I was a little surprised. A couple hours in, I'd only received 2 emails, and then all of a sudden I was bombarded after that. So as of Wednesday night, we probably heard from 100 to 125. I mean, I think it's, and the hard part about this is we have 10 schools in our district, so I think it's a little challenging to gauge exactly how many. I mean, I'm not sure if we're up to 150 or 200, but I think, again, if you're a parent who's got children at the high school or beyond, you go, well, you know, I may have an opinion, but it doesn't directly affect me. So I'm not going to be, I mean, there's not as big a need to be vocal. I think to a certain extent at the elementary level it's the same thing. Even though it may affect them down the road, it doesn't affect me right now. So again, same thing, I may have an opinion. I'm not going to say a lot. Where I think there's more kind of probably awareness is at the 2 middle schools. At Glacier Creek, which is where Mr. Harris taught previously, I think there's probably, quite frankly, a sense of relief among a lot of parents that, oh, we thought he'd be coming back here, and now it's not our problem, if you will. But at Cromery, I think the double hard part for them is, one, first of all, he's here. 2, there wasn't a lot of time, but the hard part is we've explained to parents, you know, we only had 15 days because that's what the ruling was and the courts ordered us to do as well. And then 3, I think, you know, for the longest time, there was this tendency to think it's not our problem, it's Glacier's problem. So now all of a sudden there's this awareness, oh, it is, you know, and so where they were incubated before, it's kind of like, oh, we need to get up to speed on this. So.
All right. And what is the district doing for the parents with concerns and their kids?
Yep, I mean, and again, so at first, when we sent the first email out on Tuesday, we wanted to just make people aware it was more factual. And we were criticized a little bit because some people felt like there weren't enough details, there wasn't enough sympathy to it. It wasn't that at all, but we really wanted to have people know this is what we're looking at. There are 2 things I want to be clear that I told parents on Tuesday. One is that we can't accept transfers. The way our middle schools work is there's 2 blocks in 7th grade. And so if you're in one block in 7th grade, you have Mr. Harris for a science teacher starting Monday. If you're in another block, you have a different science teacher. Well, occasionally someone will go, we've heard from some people go, well, you accept transfers other times. Well, we typically get a request of 1 at the start of the year or 2. That's something we can make work. We didn't anticipate that this would stop at 1 or 2. We can't have one block with 200 students and the other block with 50. It just doesn't work very well. So that was one thing. We also said that it's not going to work out to say, okay, we'll provide transportation, but we're going to send our child to the other middle school because he's not there. I mean, we said, again, that's not a request that we're going to grant. However, since then, again, we've heard from a lot of people who are nervous, so what we are going to do is twofold. One is that starting on Monday, we will have a paraeducator, which is like a teaching assistant, in the room for all 5 sections that Mr. Harris teaches. We think that's beneficial for everybody involved. For students, it gives them a second resource in the room to help them with science. For parents, who've got concerns, it puts them at ease. It says, oh, there's a second adult there to kind of make sure whatever I'm concerned about. And even for Mr. Harris, we think it's beneficial because it's been 4 years since he's taught. So again, it gives him someone to help answer questions if he's got them and get immediate feedback. The second thing, though, I mean, we also recognize there are going to be some parents who are simply going to say, that's not enough. I still don't want my child in that classroom. So the other alternative is their child can have a study hall when they would be having science normally. We'll do that. We'll do it for a week. We'll evaluate at that point. As I just spoke to a parent on the phone, if after a day or 2 of having a study hall, your son or daughter says, you know, I've heard pretty good things about what's going on, I'd like to give it a try, they can move back into the regular classroom for that period. But we're going to make those 2 things available, and hopefully that'll get parents to understand, you know, again, that there are some options for them. And for children, again, if they still have questions, we've got our support staff there and on call and ready to help them if they've got questions just about whatever it is. If it's things that their parents have asked them and they want to ask, or just unresolved questions they have, because, you know, again, there's been a lot of publicity about this case. Right. So,
what about DPI? Have you guys heard anything back from them regarding the license?
No, we have not, and it's frustrating for us. So again, just a real quick background there for you, Ryan. So way back in 2010 when this first came down, we reported this to DPI, and DPI, my understanding, I wasn't working at the district at the time, told us we typically investigate after the legal proceedings end. And again, whether it was that or we'll issue a verdict or we'll provide something after the legal process has run its course. Well, we contacted DPI the day after the state Supreme Court said, we're not going to take your appeal, and said, so what findings do you have? What can you tell us? We didn't get an answer. I know that other media outlets have asked and have kind of gotten, I won't say the runaround, but at least haven't gotten a direct answer as well. I don't know. I think DPI really owes it, not just to the Middleton Cross Plains School District, not even just to the parents and students in this district, I think to the entire state, to say what their findings are, to say what they think should happen. If they think he should keep his license, they should say that and then stand behind it. And then people can decide the next time, Tony Evers is up for election, whether they agree with that or not. And again, people make decisions all the time, and you have to live with the consequences. I don't think kicking the can down the road is the right thing for people of the state.
Have they given you any indication of how long it'll take them to come up with a decision?
No, and my understanding is they haven't given anyone else an indication as well. And I do know we've had some parents who have reached out to them already, saying, and again, obviously they'd like DPI to rule in a certain way. My whole thing is I have an opinion there as well, but I think more importantly, they just need to make a ruling, make an announcement. That's the bigger thing. I think they need to tell people what they found, and if Andrew gets to keep his license, then explain why they're making that decision.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Makes sense?
Yeah. Are there any other updates since this morning?
Not really. I think that's pretty much what I told Matt. So again, Andy was in school today. He met with the staff, and then he has. My understanding is he spent the rest of the day with the teacher whose classroom will be taking over on Monday, getting caught up to speed. He actually met with the principal yesterday. I will say, to his credit, to Andrew's credit, there's something in our local newspaper where he apologized and he admitted wrongdoing. And again, he's not saying I didn't deserve my job. He's saying I made mistakes and I would like to win back your trust. I think that's a great first step. I hope that we can continue to have that sort of dialogue and have him look a lot of our parents in the eye and have that same conversation with them. I don't know that it'll make everyone feel okay, but I think it's important. Sometimes apologies go a long way.
Very good. Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, you bet.